Hello everybody. Don't know what my greeting's gonna be because it used to be what's up YouTube, but now I'm not on YouTube, but also on Vimeo. So gotta come up with a new salutations, I guess, but I don't know. I think salutations, whatever. I think hi. How about I just saying hi? Hi's good enough. Anyway, I'm gonna get through this video because I don't want to drag on and everybody to lose interest and turn it off. These are actually I'm gonna show you some of the knives that I did. Just give a brief explanation through each period that I've gone through with making knives, and all the way up to something that's more close to present, which is the behemoth knife label that I've created today. Okay, so anyway, I'll start out with my very first knife, which actually I don't really count as my first knife because it was my dad and I working on it, and he really picked up on the flat grind super fast. But this is the first one we did together. This is a piece of 01 1/4 inch we had ordered from a firm nearby. It used to come out in huge long strips. It wasn't 18-inch pieces. It was like about, I think it was like yard long. We'd cut it up in pieces and make our blades. We made 3 of these. One with the oak handle, another with an elk handle, and those 2 were given away, and then this one remained at home. And this is technically my dad's knife. We heat treated this thing outside on a charcoal chiminea, which is kind of like an outdoor chimney. We didn't have a forge at the time. And this is actually the first blade that came out of the shop, or wherever, whatever you want to call it. Lean-to, I don't know. Anyway, this is my first knife. Now, the first knife I made entirely by myself was this one. This is a piece of 1/4 inch 01, and this is a Convex Grind. And yeah, people talk about how difficult convex grinds on here are to do, and the reason why I found they're difficult to do is because a lot of times we'd start off on the sander, and then we'd use a DA sander when we experiment with other ways. I'd have to get that line straight down the middle, that line but that cutting edge. And yeah, I found convex grinds to be really difficult because I was using ordinary store-bought equipment. So I found them, yes, I did find convex grinds to be difficult for that reason. This is actually black micarta for the handle. This is the first handles material order I made, and that's the first knife I made entirely on my own. Next one down was this guy here, and this one was a little thinner, so the convex grind that I did worked a little better on this one, I think. A little more easier to sharpen. So here's the paper micarta handle that I used with a Loveless style rivet, and cool little knife. I'm experimenting with this little remove some material up here, make kind of like this rounded looking blade up there in the front. Rounded blade with rounded portion near the ricasso here. Kind of dipped it down the back, so your finger had purchase here and here. And I did that on my Craftsman belt sander like the first one. This second one has changed in appearance because it used to look like a big buffalo skinner, but it was a convex blade. I went ahead and reground it and made kind of like a dagger shape, with a spine down the middle, and then added these divots. And that's actually a kaleidoscope pearl, which is an acrylic material. And I just happened to luckily put it on there to where the purple portions were in the front on both sides. So I didn't get this weird purple back here and then maybe purple in front. I got them both right, which turned out pretty good. And that's ABS plastic. I didn't use liner material for that. That black material is ABS plastic. And it's a cool little blade. My first soldered guard. See the soldered guard right there? Turned out pretty good. Actually, I like this blade after I reshaped it. And that's about my 4th one down, I think. I think there's a couple others. Might have been one other in the middle, but I think I gave it to a relative. Now this portion here, I began to experiment with these removable grips, and this is actually like a large Bowie that I did based on that first design, second design down. I put my finger here, had more handle purchase here. This was actually a long time working on this knife. It had this weird diamond shaped looking pommel in the back. I got rid of that. I had to take that off. And this one here has a price tag still on it. I need to put some goof off on that. At this point I began to actually walk around with these things in a a little gun case and try to push sales with these things. I tried to go up to people who I thought would buy one of my blades and say, hey, I want to buy a blade. I think I had this one here for $55. I was trying to get rid of that for $55. And then, you know, of course, being where I'm at, they just try to talk you down more. They'd say 55, they want it for like 30 or free, you know. And here's another one I did. This is Pakka Wood, which is that diamond wood stuff. I didn't realize that you can actually buff this and it actually leaves a finish. So I actually didn't know that. So I sanded it down real fine and put shellac on it. That's actually shellac over that. And it's a detachable with the 2 screws, brass screws that I used. That's like a convex grind I did. Try to put a choil right here. I mean, cool little knife, you know, but you know, it's, you know, it was just an experiment, just trying to get my feet wet once again. This little guy here was one I tried to make to sell at a store. I actually tried to move this one out. And you can see I tried to regrind that flat after I got my new machine. It used to look kind of like the one I showed you previously. And that's a little, you know, swedge up there on the top. I tried to sell this one. And the hunters didn't like it because they're afraid that they would slip. They'd cut their hand. Well, I was just probably afraid that they'd be too hard to sharpen the blade grind style that I used. But, you know, I did really good on the handle. I mean, the handle turned out pretty good. Nice, you know, looking smooth. No nonsense Micarta grip. This is a little thing I was messing with for a while. Went up selling one of these for $35. I made one for myself. This is actually 01. All these are 01, by the way. This is like a little mini knife. See, it's kind of a replica of my first knife. And this here is fake onyx with white paper micarta. And that's a bolster right there. As you can see, I made a bolster with that. And just me goofing off. You still haven't got the new grinder at this point. Still making convex grinds. And you can put white micarta in the sun. It photo decomposes because the acid in the paper. This is the old original 1950s Westinghouse Micarta that was made, that was given to me by a buddy of mine. I think it's Westinghouse. I'm not sure if Westinghouse did micarta. Well, anyway, I think it was Westinghouse, and that was the original micarta from the 1950s he gave me. And a lot of stuff that he had left over from his old rifle stock making days. Okay, so anyway, I did that. And then this one here is more of kind of a milestone knife for me, I guess you could say. Did a guard, and I made a convex grind here. Then I made my first tapered tang here, in the back. It turned out okay. And then the guard actually shaped that shape. I actually shaped that like that while it was hardened on. This was actually flat. I actually made this thing shaped the way it is while it was on the blade. Soldered. Okay, so micarta handle. Yeah, I'm already at 8:17. This is probably gonna be like a 20-minute long video. God. So, you know, don't get bored. If you're into this stuff, enjoy. Okay, next one. Another milestone knife for me. And I remember this actually going to the Reno gun show and being pissed, not pissed, just disappointed because I didn't have it done in time. And I wanted to be this so I could show off because my grinding skills have gotten, like, I don't know, I considered better. Some people think that convexes are like gold on here. I was actually trying to get away from convex grinding. So what I had done was I made this, I had a 1-horse Craftsman belt sander, I had a 1/2-horse Craftsman belt sander. I drilled 2 holes, put a round piece of wood in the front with some what the heck is that, graphite material glued to the front, which created like a hollow grinding wheel. And I was able to pull this off, and then ran the belt over that. It was an old Wayne Goddard trick. And that actually pushed this against the belt and actually wound up with somewhat of a flat grind. I mean, probably still is considered convex, but I wound up with this. The only disappointment I got is that the ricasso is a little short. I just don't like the way that's short. But other than that, this is actually my best knife up until up in, you know, this period of my knife making. And I put a green and black mix. What is that? Canvas micarta? Yeah, I put a green and black mix canvas micarta on it with a little pommel hole at the end for a lanyard or something. Never made a sheath for it. I probably should make a sheath, but Still kind of a neat little knife. There's a little, like a bird beak or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the hell you call that. Well, anyway, next one. Now, actually, one before that. I don't know what I was thinking when I made this thing. I'd actually left the oxidation from the post heat treat on it, and then glued the grips to it. And the grips are like this weird looking, tribal looking stuff that I'd actually had ground out. Trying to make like a bear claw or a cat claw on the front with some weird looking carving in it, and trying to make it very indigenous looking. And then this here is interesting because I have this here, and I put a purchase right here, like a piece you could get a purchase on. Okay, I'm trying to get this in the camera. And then a bit of a swedge up here on the top. And I don't know if you can see the grind on that. There's a few mistakes in that, obviously. It's like a low-sided convex. I mean, if I knew I could sell these things for buku money, I would have stuck with convex. But that's one that I did. And then here's another one that I did. I tried to regrind that because it was a convex, and I just got bored. First time messing with more narrower stock. This is actually 440C stainless steel. This is a OD green canvas micarta, and this is a cool little knife. I actually like this little knife. This was a neat knife. I actually wished I didn't mess it up. You know, I tried to regrind some of these old nut blades, and I wish I left them alone. Okay, so about this point, I just decided to take the leap. I bought my Bader BM3 sander, and went ahead and decided that when I got it, we sat for a month, finally got it installed, got the 220 wiring for it done. So this is actually my first project on the sander, and I decided to really, you know, people get a brand new car or something, they really go out in the freeway and they just want to open it up, and that's what I did. I opened it up big time, and I began to start this thing, what I called exercises in perspective, which was just a knife that I would do that would have no intention of selling, that I did just to see the types of grind styles that I would do. And I did this thing, which was a 1/4 inch piece of 01 scrap. Okay, and I actually had wound up doing a tapered tang with it. And that's ABS material, not fiber spacing material, with a tan canvas micarta. That's a tapered tang there. And then I did this thing where I came around top and ground it down, and then made this like swedge across the top here, made another swedge across the bottom here, and then the actual grind down here at the very bottom. So this is my first exercise in perspective. And actually it's kind of fun going back and looking at this thing, because there's a lot of guys running around making these really knives that are kind of thick for the length of blade that they get. I'm thinking, man, if I can make a bunch of these, it would just like go over like hotcakes right now. I just use it as an exercise to see what kind of grind I can do. I didn't really think I could actually sell it someday, but I'm not going to sell it. This is just, I actually took this thing to work one time, pried a bunch of ice loose on a cooler that needed servicing. I used like a pry bar on the ice. It went right through the ice pretty good. So the next one, I had got the I got a new camera, so I just began to actually decided to make YouTube videos. So I had actually made a since actually so many times like saying I made a video on YouTube, which was more of a prepper type of video. Well, anyway, I decided to go ahead and showcase my knife making just for fun. So I went ahead and made this thing. This is actually one of my first hollow ground blades ever, and I made the thing entirely on camera. It was on my first YouTube channel. Okay, it's 01. It's a 1/4 inch. Has a green, or not green, a tan micarta, canvas micarta, and here's the other side of it right here. And I made this thing from start to finish. I actually drop tested it on the ground. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. Pretty cool little finish too. This is when I was really doing the heavy prismatic type of what did you say, hand rub finishes. It's kind of scratched up now because I started using it, but cool little knife. I still enjoy using this knife. I'm thinking about actually putting it on my bug out bag. So I might just put it back in my bug out bag. I need to make a better sheath for it. Sheath I got for this thing is just, I don't want to get it. It's just so freaking ugly. Only drawback was I decided to use copper tubing. I should have used stainless steel tubing, but I just didn't have an access to stainless steel tubing at the time. But good to go. So anyway, I decided to go ahead, push on a little further, and I made this thing. Wait a minute, actually that's wrong. I have one more coming. No, I have two coming before this one. Next, I shouldn't have showed this one yet. There's two more before this one, before I got on YouTube. I made this thing here, right, which was like an ergonomic blade. And I showed this one already. It has a special, like not special, but ergonomic handle type system, which I eventually came back and redid in this form right here. This is like a copy of this one. But this is the one I'm trying to redo and sell. But I made this one, which you can, which is actually fits the hand really good in every position under regular. I'm going to choke up on it, Then my first liner lock build came around, and this is my first liner lock. And it is a titanium liners with green. I keep saying green, red G10 handle. And I didn't really know where to get good screws at the time, and taps. I kept breaking taps. So I actually put up with these taps that I got from the local hardware store. If you can see the machine screws in the back, and the two screws are like huge because I got them from a hardware store. Here's the other side. It's a stainless steel clip that I did. The blade is ATS 34. Okay, it's a hollow ground ATS 34 blade. Still very ductile. I did a normal conventional heat treat, and I didn't have a cryo treat done. That's when I realized that I can't heat treat all steels. So that if there's certain steels that I get, I'll probably have to send out and do. This is probably one of them that I'll have to do. But I carried this thing to work, and it held, actually, for being ductile, still, it held a really keen edge. It actually wasn't a bad edge. And it's some of my best grinding not my best, but my better grinding I did, at the point that I was making this stuff. Those are nitron, I think those are nitron washers in there. And there's a little bit of play right here. And it was kind of funny because titanium is actually a non-ferrous. The sparks come from, I think it's magnesium. I'm sure one of you YouTubers will probably just start, breaking down titanium molecule per molecule for me in the comment section. Well, anyway, had actually shaved this back like a 1/4 inch. Okay, and I said, well, screw it, I'll get it on the next one. So I set it aside, and I realized, hey, wait a minute. Titanium's it's non-ferrous, it's actually semi-malleable. So what I did is I got a chisel, not a chisel, but like a punch, and I began to actually put divots inside the titanium. And at the end of each divot, I actually pushed that titanium up far enough to butt up against that blade and create a lock. A loose lock, but a lock nonetheless, and it actually never closed on me. So that's a good way to save your titanium liner. Of course, you're not going to sell it. I don't know who's going to buy it with a bunch of divots in it, but works. Worked for me. Okay, so we're moving on up to try to make this one here. This is weird. This is a flat grind that didn't work out. I tried to regrind it to a flat. Anyways, wound up with a convex. But it was like a cool convex. I like this convex. So I kept it like a convex. Got bored, tried to regrind it. Put this rough abrasions on it. And this is actually another kaleidoscope pearl acrylic handle. But got this rough abrasions on it. And this is 440C also. This is stainless steel. But it's actually a cool knife. I actually enjoy using this knife. It's a pretty neat, feels good in the hand. I gave it a lot of handle. That's just a little project that I did. So I move on up to the Behemoth Super Knife days. So I went from my first channel, Mr. Millennium Proof, to Millennium Proof, to Mr. Millennium Proof, and that was all due to ISP problems with speed and uploading videos. So I wound up with Mr. Millennium Proof. So I decided to split the channel. I got tired of this prepper crap I was doing all the time. There's so many prepper channels running around. So I wound up splitting it. The prepper channel became Zombie Control 1, which was it's still out there. There's only 6 videos on it. I don't even upload it to it anymore. my Beretta firing pin changing video is still on it that I did, and I just showed how to do a Beretta firing pin change that worked for me. So, and then I decided to make Behemoth Super Knife the channel for here. But anyways, when Mr. Millennium Proof, I decided to go ahead and make this huge, ridiculously huge Bowie, and it had like a giant handle. Okay, and this is actually handmade composite from denim and dyed denim that I dyed and fiberglass resin, and this is a hollow ground blade. Now actually this blade started out as a convex. Why? Because I pressed too hard up against the platen and made it a convex grind. I actually could have made this a convex, but I didn't want a convex, I wanted a flat. So I got this thing, put it in a vise, of course, and got a piece of steel, put some sandpaper on there, just put my back into it and ground this thing flat. I mean, then I'd go grind it, I'd go back to the platen, grind a little more on the sander, go back, grind this by hand some more, and eventually wound up with a pretty flat blade. It's approximately 8.5 inches long. So anyways, I call this the Behemoth Super Knife. Okay, and it was like, and I said it's the world's first and best super knife. Which is just like, you know, is there any such thing as a super knife? I mean, it's just a knife with a big handle. And I said it's crap, like it would be the world's largest, third largest economy, and it's going to save the world because it's going to create jobs. And this video, it just you know, me being smart. Well, anyways, I made that. Then I decided to take this video and decided to call the channel, make the channel Behemoth Super Knife. So I made this channel called Behemoth Super Knife, and I just made it a knife-making channel. And that's how you wound up with where you're at now, with Behemoth Super Knife. And eventually Google made everybody, you know, gave everybody the option to change their name, so it simply became Behemoth Knives. That became my brand. It's Behemoth Knives. Okay. So anyways, that's the Behemoth. Then I got what's called the B2, which is kind of the same thing. Shorter handle. I put this choil right up here in the front, so that way you can still do fine work up in front, but you can still back off when you want to chop and do other chores. Hollow ground the blade, but I gave it like a high hollow grind. Okay, so it's not a low hollow grind. I put that swedge up there on the top right here. And that's kind of like just another project that I did called the B2. Made some more of the material from, me and my dad got together like the first time. Made some of this more of this composite material from denim and fiberglass, but for some reason this stuff wicked. It attracted moisture. You can see there's like rust right there, okay? Because if you leave it outside in the garage, this little knife would be bone dry, and this would be like, there'll be dew all over this thing because the fibers somehow attract the moisture. Other than that, it's a cool knife. I love the knife. I made a similar knife for a cancer benefit for a guy who had cancer. It was help pay for his co-payments, and it fetched $375. It had a G10 handle, black, and a red border around it. There's a piece of red underneath it, and you know, made some money for a good cause doing that knife. So the next one after that was this guy, piece of 1095. I also got the dues card in there, which I'll show you. I can get in a minute. And this is a flat ground blade, kind of a Bowie clip point. I was going for that clip point. Some people call it a Bowie blade. I've called it a clip point. Well, anyway, this is actually a piece of white micarta with, I think that's old walnut, the old stock grade walnut that I use. Cool little knife, I like it. It's a nice blade. Okay, so another one that's up from that one. I just didn't put it on the mat here. This is called I call it the dues card, which is like a machete. I made this from 1095, and it's just all. It's kind of it's a dusty looking blade. I use it around the house for stuff a lot. And it's a high hollow grind with a swedge. Then I did the grip. I did this wrap with paracord and clear cast resin and put leather underneath it. I was doing this thing where I would wrap these handles and put resin over them. Okay. I got that paracord little lanyard on the top. I can just lose that, but sometimes I do stuff around the house. You can see it's still got crap all over it from when I used it. It's a cool knife. It feels good in the hand. Even like a piece of shear cut metal, it warped during the heat treat. I've never had shear cut steel not warp. But the only piece that didn't warp was this one here. That's the only one that didn't warp. That was 1095. Then I have the Passport, which is a piece of 1095. That's just a large flat ground machete type knife. This is actually some more of that composite material made from denim and fiberglass resin. So it's good stuff. It's cool. It's a cool knife. This is when I began to use more of the the V2, and this one was when I started using stainless steel tubing for the rivets. Anyways, here's another one that I did. This is another what I call exercise in perspective, and it's kind of funny because like I say, you make these things just to make them, just to see what you can do. Some guys like popped up and said that the tip will break off or whatever, and I thought, you know, the tip could break off or may not. You know, you never know. It's a very narrow tip. You know, I mean, that's a pretty keen observation. But I did a fuller down the center here with a fork tip, and I did a hollow grind blade. Kind of fused it with this, fused it in with this blade up here. The step that I put in the blade up here. You know, that's kind of tricky blending that in and reconciling that symmetry on that, but I got it down pretty good. And this is also some stepped micarta, not stepped, but I mean, there's like a border around it. I put 2 pieces of micarta. This is, not micarta, I mean G10. These are 2 pieces of G10. This is a black and blue G10 with red G10 underneath it. And this is actually one of my favorites. It feels good in the hand. And, you know, I might put this in my bug out bag, to tell you the truth. I made a pretty cool little holster. It's a piece of Latigo leather. It's one of my better holsters. I thought about packing this around. And wouldn't it be funny if like I actually used this regularly and did not break the tip off? Wouldn't that be cool? Thought that'd be cool. Anyway, that's an exercise in perspective that I did. So anyway, here it is. It's all done. Just wanted to show everybody what it all looks like, and you know what my progression from somewhat. These aren't all of the knives I make, of course, but just some of my periods and things that I went through all the way to the end here, and the stuff that I've done. You know, going through. You know what I learned and whatever. And it's kind of funny the stuff you pick up and you learn. And I'm almost 100. I mean, you know, aside from watching some videos that I purchased. And I used to sit there and go, you know, I'd go to Starbucks every day after work and crack the books and just sit there and read for 2 hours a day. But you don't really learn anything until you actually get out there and do it. You know, even you watch a hollow grinding video, or you watch a video by some of these guys that we used to, you know, buy. You know, we buy these things from different websites or whatever. And nothing trains you to do it like you. I mean, people grind. You know, people want to learn how to hollow grind. They want to learn how to grind this or grind that. Everybody grinds differently because they press on the blade at different intervals. They, you know, some people leave scratches. Some people don't. Some people grind hard. Some people don't grind hard enough. They push too hard. They don't push hard enough. And that's just the thing about grinding. It's just one of those things you got to discover how to do and what's good for you to do. And that's why a lot of guys, you know, they want people to teach them how to do it. There's no real way to teach you how to do it. I've read books, tons of books on how to grind. Every grinder out there will tell you something slightly different on what to do. And even then, I had to find it out for myself and how to make these things and how to grind. So it's trial and error. In the end, you can get the framework, but in the end, it's getting out there and doing it. Is, you know, experience is experience is the greatest teacher, whatever. Well, that's what it is in knife making. Experience is the greatest teacher. You just gotta grind metal and do it and learn how to do it. So, all right, guys, long video, but I try not to do long videos. But this one I decided to do a long video because it's, you know, each blade takes a little explaining, right? Each part of this journey took a little explaining. So. Thanks, and Merry Christmas.